The two subjects of economics, the actor and the means, and the three aspects of economizing. Economizing cannot happen without two basic things. An actor, someone who can allocate, and means, something that he allocates. This idea is generally accepted in economics. However, in most economic schools, the actor is not a single person, but a large group of people. This is why it's considered a social science. The examples in this episode are mostly from the perspective of a single individual and are closest to the Austrian school. We'll talk about groups from the fourth episode. The economizing actor can be practically anyone, even a young boy, a farmer, or a lone shipwreck survivor. The economizing actor is not a weird species living out there somewhere. It's an abstract category, and it includes everyone who has desires, like the desire to eat, drink, help a friend, or have children, and is able to act towards those desires, which means he has a body, energy, and an idea how to reach his goals. Without purpose, the action becomes meaningless or random, and you cannot allocate your means like that. And without the ability to act, there is no use in having desires, since we cannot do anything to achieve them. The economizing actor is not necessarily a rational computer, or at least not in all economic schools. Maybe you heard the term Homo economicus. This came up about 200 years ago in the classical school. And this term implies that economic actors are rational decision makers who calculate what is best for them before doing something. This definition is not very popular nowadays. Ludwig von Mises and later also Richard Thaler and Daniel Kahneman challenged this view by showing that actors are influenced by emotions, biases, and gut feelings, and they don't choose after considering all the possible outcomes, but rather make a decision instinctually. Well, at this point I think it's enough to remember that one of the main subjects of economics is the actor who has a purpose and is able to act. And we'll get back to the decision-making process later. Economizing cannot happen without means. Basically, these are the things we use to achieve our goals. Now, means can be categorized into many different ways. But let me show you what I like the best. It puts means into three groups. The first is time. Life is limited to a couple of decades, and that's it. We must live knowing that we'll never get our years back. And besides, we can only focus on a limited number of things at the same time. We cannot watch TV, read, cook, work, go out, train, do the laundry, spend time with our family at the very same moment. For an actor with a limited lifespan and limited capabilities to act, time is a limited mean. Well, in physics, time is infinite, but not in economics, because we think of time from the perspective of the actor. The second group is our internal energy. This is our brain and muscle power, and we have to use some of it every time we act. And the third category is called goods. These are objects and external forces that we can use when we act, like a glass of water or the electricity in the wall, or money to trade with others. Economizing is about allocating our means. This process only makes sense if we consider means limited. If something is unlimited, or in other words infinite, we do not have to allocate it, like gravity on Earth or the power of the sun. These things are unlimited, so we cannot consume them, and we don't have to produce them either. They just exist, so we don't think of them as means, but rather like general conditions. This is why economics is often defined as the science of scarcity, as allocating limited means to desires. Calling means limited is a bit of a redundancy, because means by definition can only be limited. In our definition, the word allocation is a bit difficult to pin down. It's not only saving and it's not only working. So what do we do when we allocate? Allocation can also be put into three main categories, just like economic means. The first one is managing what we have right now. We do this when we spend, eat, consume, or save resources. This is the first and most basic aspect of economizing. The second one is producing means. We do this when we work and rest. And the third is what I call improving. We do this when we study, explore, or build tools that make working and managing resources easier. This is the most advanced aspect of economizing. So this is what we do when we allocate. We manage, we produce, and we improve. There's nothing new in this for those who played a strategy game before.
Not enough minerals. Research complete.
But now let's see what it means in terms of the three economic mean categories. Time, the first mean, is something we can manage. This is what busy people try to do: minimize wasting time or using every minute efficiently. Unfortunately, no one can recharge time or turn back the clock. There's no production when it comes to time. We can only manage what we have and improve how we do that. Our internal power supply, the second mean, is a bit different. Obviously, we can use what we have, a fixed amount of muscle and mental power to study, train, work, or have fun. But we can also replenish it. We do this when we sleep, eat, or relax. We don't call it production, but in terms of economics, it is that. We reproduce a mean. However, it has a maximum, like a phone battery. We cannot extend our internal energy beyond its limits. Maybe with better lifestyle and training, we can extend its capacity a bit, but not infinitely. And now comes the big one, the goods. We can obviously manage our existing goods. We can consume, save, or maintain them. But in case of goods, production becomes super important, because most goods can be produced practically without limits. In fact, there is a separate category for production goods, and goods we actually consume. Consumption goods are the goods we directly use to achieve our goals, like food or clothing. And production goods are, for instance, tractors, factories, or large container ships. Their purpose is to make more goods. And of course, we can improve when it comes to our goods. We can invest into building better ones. Production and improving is super important when it comes to goods. This is why they are in the focus of most economic schools. I prefer these categories because they are easy to relate to. They work in a video game, in our everyday activities, and they will help a lot when it comes to understanding how an economy works. There's one more thing that is important to mention when it comes to economic means. An economic mean doesn't have some specific intrinsic physical property, like protons or something. Means is a subjective category. Anything can be a mean if a person finds it useful for achieving a goal. But it's also possible that the same object is not a mean for someone else. Just think of food you like but others hate. For you, that food is a mean to achieve a goal, but for others, it's not. Now we have the two basic definitions, the actor and the means, so we can start economizing. In other words, allocating, managing existing means, producing more, and improving. Let's start with managing our current means. Let's say we are thirsty, so would like to drink. We have plenty of water, time, and internal energy, so we can easily pay for this desire from our existing means. This is what we call consumption. Great, and a good thing is we have more means than needed. So if life was only about a single goal, we would be more than good. We wouldn't really care how much we consumed or saved. We could drink half the bottle and just leave the rest for good. But life is not about satisfying a single goal. We'll get thirsty again in a few hours, and we have countless other desires as well. This is why we mind how we use our existing means. We save what we value and use it carefully. This is what we do when we manage our existing means. We can easily think of something that we cannot pay for from our existing means, like a nice house, a fast car, or a fancy holiday. Now, just because we currently don't have the means, we are not destined to never have them. Because means are scarce, but they can be produced. Well, except time. But we can make goods by working, and we can recharge our batteries by resting. This is huge. We can increase our pile of means, and that leads to more actions, choices, and more satisfied goals in the future. This is what we do when we produce. When it comes to managing and producing resources, we all have an inborn instinct to do it. After all, we did this for thousands of years without any economic education.
Huh?
Instincts are good enough for us to survive, but we also have the potential to improve how we use our existing means and how we produce. This is what we call improving, and it can enormously impact the quality of our lives. This is the third aspect of economizing. When I say improving, think of studying or investing into projects, or building better machines, or discovering new methods and theories. These activities require resources. R&D is an important part in every company's budget. But improving is a tricky business. It's risky, and it only benefits us in the future. But if we do it well, it has a parabolic effect. We can be significantly better off, but only in the future. Okay, now let's see some actual examples. Remember Robinson, our shipwrecked hero? He's on a deserted island on his own. So his only means are his time and energy. His desires are also kind of simple. First of all, he wants to get something to eat and make it through the day. Lucky for him, the island is not a wasteland. There are fish in the water and berries in the forest. But it's not something he can use right away. Those are not means yet. He must catch them first. So in other words, he must work first to produce means, and then he will have the goods he can consume. Let's suppose he can do that. But without any advanced tools, it's pretty exhausting. With his bare hands, it takes him almost a full day to produce enough food. That means most of his daily energy is consumed just to feed himself. Well, he can stay alive, but on the long run, it's not a very convenient life. But what if he's willing to invest a couple of extra hours every day into making a fishing net? With a tool like that, he could get food way faster. He could catch enough fish for a day in 20 minutes. An investment like this is pretty risky and requires a lot of time and energy, but it has a huge potential in the future. Robinson could free up most of his day to work on other desires, like getting home. The idea of a net is a desire first, something that motivates Robinson to act. He must work many hours to reach this goal, but once he realizes it, he will have way more opportunities. So Robinson manages his current means and also produces, and at the end of the day he can still choose to invest whatever energy he has left, hoping that by building better tools he can make his life better, and maybe even leave the island. The long-term effect of improving is the reduction of the time and energy cost of other desires. A net reduces the time and energy cost of fishing. A shelter reduces the time and energy cost of sleeping and resting. A rope reduces the time and energy cost of building a ship. And a map of the island reduces the time and energy cost of collecting wood and berries. This is the long-term effect of improving. It makes production and management easier. Efficient economizing rests on all three pillars. It's reckless to waste resources, but retaining is not effective on its own. Producing goods and replenishing our energy open whole new possibilities, but working a lot is not enough on its own, because people can always spend more and more, no matter how much they make. And resting a lot without using our energy is laziness. It's not effective economizing. Improving can make our actions more effective, but only if we improve how we manage and produce. Learning without ever using the new information and collecting shiny tools that don't make work easier are not making economizing more efficient. If we want to economize better, we should focus on all three aspects. And how do we do that? Well, the answer is not that easy, because it's a bit different for everyone. It depends on what we want in our lives. If I focus on improvement and working, I'll most likely end up with more in the future. But I sacrifice consumption in the present. And if I only focus on the present, I sacrifice the future. It's like a three-way balancing act. We should aim at finding the right balance between managing, producing, and improving. And though I don't think there is a universal equation that fits everyone, there will be a lot of aid to this decision in the upcoming episodes. So to talk about economics, we need an actor and means. Every adult human is an actor, because every human being has desires and the ability to achieve them, except a few very sick people. And an actor doesn't even have to be human, it can be an animal or a computer program too. Means are limited things we use to achieve our desires, and their three main categories are time, energy, and goods. Economizing happens when we start using our means. It's the way we allocate them. And it's about three things. Making sure we use what we have best. This is consumption and saving, and we call it managing our current means. The second is producing. and it's basically about working and resting. And the third is improving, which is studying, exploring, and investing into production goods. This is what we do when we allocate our means. And this is all you need to know to have a very strong grasp of what economizing is.